For any of you who are exhausted by early morning wake-ups, today I am sharing 8 practical tips to help you to get your child to sleep in later. It's really important that children, babies, toddlers, preschoolers, everyone wakes up at the same time each day, or at least close to the same time each day, so that you can have the same kind of pattern to every single day. This is especially important for babies so they maintain the same kind of feeding schedule and sleep schedule. So let's get into your tips. But first, hello, my name is Valerie. I blog at babywisemom.com. I've been blogging there since the year 2007. I have 4 children behind me who currently range in age from 13 to 20 years old. And I love helping parents love parenthood and help make your life easier. So why does it matter if your child is waking up early? Of course, there's like the obvious of you want to be able to sleep in until the time that works best for you. But beyond that, and more importantly, because we're adults and so like we can deal with things, but more importantly is getting your child eating at the same time each day, having that same rhythm each day, and it just helps you have a very predictable routine every day. So step 1, you're going to feed your child at the same time every single day. No matter what time they wake up, you're going to have breakfast at the same time. This just really anchors your day, and the hope, what we're aiming for, is to get your child's metabolism to be used to eating at that time. And so they're not going to be waking up out of hunger from inconsistent feedings. Now, this first feeding needs to be very consistent, and you want your other feedings in the day also to be consistent so that through the night, you want lunch at the same time, dinner at the same time. If you have snacks in the day, you have snacks at the same time. And if you have a younger baby who's eating more than just a breakfast, lunch, dinner, and some snacks, then you want all of your feedings just really close. So we're trying to get your child to wake up each day within a 30-minute window. So say your goal is 7 a.m. And so you want a 30-minute window here. Either you're waking up between 6:45 and 7:15, or 7 to 7:30, or 6:30 to 7. That 30-minute can be whatever works for you, but you want to pick that. That's what you're aiming for, but have breakfast at the same time each day. So step 2 is do not get your child out of bed early. So you have your 30-minute window and you're going to stick to that 30-minute window. It seems like when you're tired, you're going to be like, oh, you know what? I'm just going to get them and I'm going to bring them into my bed and let them play with toys. And then I'll be able just to kind of relax and snooze, and then we'll eat at our eating time. Well, that sounds nice, and your child's going to think it was super nice. So tomorrow, your child's going to be like, hey, that was a blast. I'd like to do that again. Let's do it every day. So if it's not something you want to start, and maybe they did it at 6:30 today, well, tomorrow that could be 6:15. In a couple of weeks, that could be 5:30. So you have to be really careful about starting habits you're not willing to continue. And one time is enough for it to be a habit for a little one who thinks that was great. You might be like, oh, 6 a.m., we're not getting up till 7. You know what? I'm just going to turn on a show for them and they can watch this show until 7. Well, doesn't that sound like if it was fun today, it'll be fun tomorrow and in 2 weeks? So just be really cognizant of, okay, if I'm going to do something right now, am I okay with that being what happens going forward? Step 3 is to slowly work on shifting your wake up time. So let's say your child is, like, your goal is 7 a.m. and your child keeps waking up at 6 a.m. You're not going to be like, okay, it's now 7, so we're 7, like no more 6. You have to slowly work your way there. So you kind of want to slowly delay the wake up time by about like 10 minutes at a time and just gently work your way there. Like, yes, it's going to take a few days or maybe even a couple of weeks to get to that goal time. That's okay. Like, we're playing a long game. I know you're tired right now. I know you want to get that fixed now. And we kind of live in this very like, I want it now society, but you really have to just slow and steady, gently work there. And that can go for the feeding too. So like if you're feeding at 6 a.m. but want to be feeding at 7:15, Don't just be like, well, guess what? Now it's 7:15. You be like, okay, so we've been doing 6:15, 6 o'clock. Let's do 6:10 for a couple of days. And then after a couple of days, we'll do 6:20. And you're just gently, gradually moving that to just gently help your child's metabolism shift and get used to eating later. So you aren't just having like a hungry kiddo, like super hungry kiddo. Like you can handle being hungry for 10 minutes. You don't want to force them to be hungry for an hour right out the gate. We're taking this easy. Like that works so well. Like the story of the tortoise and the hare very much applies in this situation. Step 4 is to be realistic in what your expectations are. So some people, be like, you know what? 7, no, like I want 8:30 a.m. That's great if that works for your child's natural sleep rhythms. Some kids will do that. I've had kids who've been that. I have kids who've been that kid. But I also have kids who have been the kid who 7 a.m. is it. Like if you make it to 7, you're grateful and be happy about it. So respect your child's natural sleep rhythms and natural sleep needs. You can't force a low sleep needs kid to sleep more than they can. And I know that's hard if you yourself are a high sleep needs person. So you have to work around that and figure out like, okay, I have a low sleep needs child. I am a high sleep needs person. And so I have to figure out like, can I fit a nap in the day? Do I need to go to bed earlier? You've got to figure out things to work it out because you can't force a child to sleep more than their natural sleep needs are. Step 5 is very important. It's very important for you to understand and accept that later bedtime does not equal later wake up time. And that in fact usually backfires. If you are trying to put your child to bed later to try to get a later sleep in the morning, you're usually going to then end up with an earlier wake up the next morning. Sleep begets sleep with little ones. So we need to make sure they're getting to bed at the time they need to get to bed so they can get a full night's sleep and again stick with that natural sleep rhythm. So figure out the best bedtime for your child and stick with it. Be really consistent with bedtime. And if you need help with figuring out your child's bedtime, I have blog posts on that. You can get all the help you need. I give times for each age range. You're not floundering in the dark here. You can figure it out. Step 6 is to focus on your child's sleep environment. This can be, we're addressing light, we're addressing room temperature and comfort of your child. So you want to make sure that the light isn't interfering with your child's ability to sleep in. Some kids, the sun doesn't really affect them. Other kids are waking up when the sun gets up. And if you live somewhere where there are times of year where the sun comes up at like 5 a.m., you don't want your child waking up at 5 a.m. with the sun. So that's when we turn to blackout curtains or blinds, and we make sure the room's as dark as possible. So if you have a child who wakes up with the sun, make sure you're addressing that and preventing the sun from being what wakes your child up earlier than you want them to. And then there's temperature, and you have to be really aware of that as your seasons change. If you live somewhere where the seasons change, you need to reevaluate what the room temperature is, how you're controlling that room temperature, and how you're dressing your child for sleep, and then using blankets if your child's old enough to use blankets, what you're using. And it doesn't always just equate to, oh, it's colder outside, so now I need to dress my child warmer, because usually if it's colder outside, you're then also turning your heater on, and so you're heating the house up. And sometimes in the summer, you'd be like, oh, it's so hot outside, like they should just sleep in like a onesie, but you have your air conditioning on, and so maybe they're getting too cold. So don't just try to match what's going on outside. Pay attention to what's going on inside. But always be assessing, like anytime the temperature changes, that's changing your inside temperature. And so make sure you're thinking that through and analyzing. Like you have to do that for yourself. Like when the season changes here, I have to change, like sometimes I sleep with socks, sometimes I do not sleep with socks. Sometimes I sleep in t-shirts, sometimes I sleep in sweatshirts. Sometimes I have like no extra blankets on, and sometimes I have like 3 extra blankets on. So you really have to evaluate each time the season changes and make sure your child is set up for the best sleep environment possible. And sleep environment can also lead to you requiring a sound machine. So if it's too noisy around your house, like outside your house, or you have other kids in the house, or you live in a busy neighborhood and there's lots of noise outside, you might need a sound machine to help them to not wake up. So if your child is waking early, consider all of the possible reasons, and we've talked about some of them already in this video, but you also need to think of other disruptions, like teething can be a disruption. It could be a sleep regression. It could be a sickness. It could be that your child's working on new skills, or your child's being potty trained and that's interfering with sleep. So really think about like, okay, what is causing my child to wake early? And is there something I can do to mitigate that and address that? And step 8 is to analyze your daily schedule and see if there's something you need to change. How are your naps? Is it time for you to drop a nap? Are they too long? Are they too short? And like we talked about, how's your bedtime? So really think about like, are we getting enough physical activity in the day? Do we need to like do more gross motor activities? Do we need to do more learning activities to stimulate the mind? Like your brain processes information that you've learned that day while you sleep. And for a baby up until about 8 months old, kind of like normal life stimulates them enough that you don't really have to work in extra stimulation. But between 8 to 10 months, really by 10 months, you do need to add some. Like you do need to be more intentional. Like, oh, let's be really sure that you're getting enough physical movement, and let's make sure that the toys are age appropriate so that they're challenging you, because a lot of those toys that you start introducing around 10 months old are some of those like pop-up toys, or maybe shape sorters, or things that kind of challenge them mentally, which just makes you more tired. Like when you're challenged mentally, you're more tired because your brain needs that time to sleep in order to process what's happened. If you're totally passive in your day and not like requiring your mind to work, you're just not going to be as tired. So these 8 steps are not going to fix your sleep problems overnight. Like tomorrow morning, they're not all going to be fixed. But with some consistency and patience and working on these adjustments, you will get there. As always, if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments and I will answer you. And thanks for watching and have a great day. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like and subscribe so you'll be notified of all future content.